Okay, so we are now recording. We will be doing this training live every month on the last Thursday. The next training will be in December as the last Thursday falls on Thanksgiving in November. So I just want to introduce myself. My name is Kayla Bodie. Many of you have probably spoken with me over the phone or email. I'm the program manager here with the background check unit in the Division of Child Care. We are really excited to do this, and we will be happy to take questions along the way. Please feel free to type them in the chat box. Brenda Burr is our program coordinator. She is also here on the call, and she's going to be adding our contact information as well as monitoring the chat for any questions that you may have. So let's talk about who needs a background check. All staff, including your janitors, your therapists, volunteers, student observers, will all need a child maltreatment check with the state of Arkansas. All staff, including janitors, custodians, therapists, will need a criminal and an FBI as well. You will notice that volunteers and student observers are in a gray area. This is because those two groups have different requirements based on their role in your facility. They must have a child maltreatment. However, depending on their involvement, they may need a criminal and FBI check as well. Please refer to minimum licensing regulations. It's section 304 and 305 to determine if you need a criminal and FBI for those volunteers. If they are there on a daily basis and they are fully involved with the children every single day, you're going to need to go ahead and do those criminal and FBI checks as well. If they are just coming in one time and they're going to be reading some books in the classroom, then you would just need to do a maltreatment. As always, please reach out to your licensing specialist. They will be able to give you clarification on if that volunteer will need more than just a maltreatment check. So everyone that is unsupervised, that counts in the ratio, or has any staff roles with children will need a background check, and that includes transportation staff. So again, please refer to your minimum licensing requirements anytime you have a question on what staff you need to be completing a background check on. The next thing that we wanted to talk about is the disqualifying offenses. You can find a full list of these offenses in the licensing requirements. It's in section 110. It's going to be 2(6)A through B. There's two tables that you can find, and it states that no person shall be eligible to be a facility owner, operator, or employee if they have pled guilty or have been found guilty of any of the following, unless it has been 5 years of a misdemeanor or 10 years of a felony from those offense dates. So you may be wondering, well, what does that mean? So this is just a small portion of that list, but if a potential applicant has a forgery charge, they're deemed disqualified if it has been a misdemeanor within the last 5 years, or if that was a felony charge and it has been within 10 years. So there's a little bit of information on the disqualifying factors. And again, you can find all of this information in your minimum licensing requirement. Please go and read that, read it thoroughly, so that you are aware of exactly what is a disqualifying offense. And we always encourage providers, go ahead and submit those background checks and we will process them. We don't want to discourage any potential employees from applying with you. And so on that same note, these are just some of the permanently prohibited offenses. And so the difference is that it does not matter if it was a misdemeanor or a felony with these offenses. So if they have been found guilty or pled guilty to anything listed here, it's on the same page in section 110, page 17. All of this list here, they cannot work or be an owner or an operator at all if they have any of these offenses. So now we're going to move on to exactly how you submit electronic background check. We also call this system, you will hear it very often called NICAR or INA. The official term is NICAR. It's the National Information Consortium of Arkansas Online Criminal Background Check System. So this system is where you're going to submit all of your potential employees. And on the second bullet here, you'll see a background check through NICAR includes the state criminal background check, the federal criminal background check, and the National Sex Offender Registry. Providers must register for a subscription account with NICAR in order to run background checks. And that can be found there at the www.ark.org/criminal. And this PowerPoint is going to be in PDF form as well. And I will send it out to anyone who would like it. You can put your email address in the chat box, and I'll send you a copy so that you have all of these links. Providers, when you register online, you will be paying a subscription cost, and the current cost is annually $150. That's yearly. If you are a childcare facility, you can get reimbursed for your first year of the subscription cost. And so if you have questions about how to do that, reach out to us if you have not already done that. Most of you have already had your subscription for more than a year now. But for the first year, if you are just now subscribing, DHS will reimburse you. So please reach out to us and we will help you submit your invoice for that. And just as a reminder, this does not include the child maltreatment registry check request. So when we talk about the electronic background check system, NICAR, this is for the state and federal. It does not include the child maltreatment registry. That is completed through a separate website, and we will have links as well for that. So let's talk about the step-by-step process. Your first step, once you have subscribed to INA or NICAR, you are ready to submit your applicant. You will need to complete the consent form. This document can be found on our website as well as linked here. Please be sure when you are completing your consent form that you are selecting childcare. It should say childcare right there and the reason for background check. You'll want to enter all of your applicant's information correctly. And just as a tip, the provider number here is your facility license number, not your phone number. So make sure you put your facility number here for the consent form. And again, we have the link here at the bottom of this slide so that you can go directly to that consent form. And I do just want to say that currently right now, this form is not active. We are aware of the error and our IT department is working diligently to get that back up. So if you're experiencing problems with this form right now, it is an outage that we're aware of in the Arkansas child maltreatment form as well. So we are working on that. Please just have patience with us. Our IT department is trying to get that fixed as quickly as possible. So now that you've got your consent form all filled out, you are going to submit, and the email address that you provide is where this PDF will come. It'll be 3 total pages. So your first page is all of the information that you just typed in about your applicant. The second page is going to be related to the state check, and this page will have to be notarized. This is where we do see a lot of errors. So just be sure to check that the notary's signature date matches the date that your applicant signed. And make sure that the notary stamp is legible. Make sure that there are no dates missing. Just double check that all of those things look right when you scan them and you upload them. If the date is missing or it is different from what the applicant signed, or if the notary stamp is missing or it can't really be seen, they will get a not approved status. So just be aware to double check that your forms look exactly the way that they should be and that there are no errors. The last page is related to the federal check, and this is just a signature and a date. And so just a tip here is when your applicant is filling out their information to apply with you and you're going in here and you're submitting this consent form, if you see that the applicant has lived out of state in the last 5 years, go ahead and submit those out of state checks now. And we will talk more about that going forward, but go ahead and get ready to submit those checks now, because your applicant cannot start working with you until you've initiated those. So now you're going to log into your NICAR account. And this is what the login page looks like. And there's a link there again to the NICAR website. Once you're logged in, you're going to go to search. This is where you will fill out the applicant information. It's a good idea to have a copy of the applicant's driver's license while you complete this section. And you'll need to be sure that the information you submit here matches what's on the driver's license of your potential employee. If the information does not match, they will be turned away from being fingerprinted, so their background check will not be processed. So please make sure to upload your consent form here, and you will select the purpose as CHI for childcare. Some providers may have multiple purposes. If you serve different agencies, just make sure that if you are inputting an employee or a potential employee that's going to be working under childcare, that you need to select CHI. So for example, as a public school, you may have an EDU prefix. So you might have some different ones when you log into your account, and some of you may only have childcare. If you have any questions about that, please feel free to reach out. We would love to help if you are needing to change your prefix at all, or if you're not seeing CHI in that drop down there, please let us know. So the next step is really important. This is just reviewing your work. It's going to ask you to review before you submit. Take a few seconds, verify that this information matches the driver's license exactly. Once you verify that the information is correct, go ahead and submit, and you will receive a confirmation page with your search ID and transaction number. Just a little tip here, your search ID and your transaction number, if you look, are very similar. The transaction number has a CHI00 in front, and then you'll have that 7-digit search number. Keep these numbers easily accessible because you'll need them for the next step. And just a little tip, if you need to go back to step 1 because you're like, oh, I've put the wrong date of birth in. When you go back, make sure that you upload your consent form. You want to make sure that that's attached. So just kind of keep an eye on that. Make sure your consent form is still attached before you go on to submit. So now that you've submitted your applicant, you are ready for fingerprint scheduling. And here on this site, you will see the link for the appointment scheduler. Before you schedule fingerprints, go into your pending tab on your NICAR account and see that if they are showing there. When they are still in pending, that means the Arkansas State Police are still processing the state criminal check. And so until they are out of your pending tab, you won't be able to actually be fingerprinted. This rarely happens. However, if they've lived out of state or if the information is wrong that was put in, it could take some additional time for state police to have to do research and find information. As long as your applicant is no longer in your pending tab, then they're ready to be fingerprinted. So you can go ahead and schedule your appointment online. You'll just go here to the website where it says schedule appointments. You'll click make appointment. You'll click fingerprinting. It'll say office is open. Here you're going to fill out your applicant's information. So this is where your CHI, your transaction or search ID number is going to come into play. You're going to make your the very first line is the name of person, and then you're going to put in your transaction ID. So you're going to put your CHI, and then you're going to do 00 and the rest of your number. Here's a little tip. If you were resubmitting prints due to rejection notice, this is where you would put that long E number that you get in your notification. So if you sent your applicant down and they got rejected for any reason and you're scheduling for them to go for their second time, this is where your E number would go. You're going to have a summary page, and then you're going to click fingerprinting. And here's where you will type in the location of your city, and you can select the fingerprinting location that is closest to you. You will see here there's several locations all over the state, any of our county offices, or there's a couple of other locations here that you'll see, but you can type in your, I believe, your city, and it'll pull up whatever is closest to you. Or maybe you're going to be somewhere on one day, and you're going to be, shopping in Little Rock. You can select the Little Rock location. It does not have to be the same county that you reside in. Once you select your location, you are going to put in your applicant's information. Again, this is where you're going to be putting the applicant's information that is going to get printed so that they can receive a schedule confirmation. Just to be aware, you will only be able to use the same email address a few times. So if you are using your director email address to schedule fingerprints, after about 2 or 3, it's going to tell you that you no longer can use this email. And I know that sometimes as directors, it's easier for you to use your information. You may want to just get with your staff. If they don't have an email, have them create a free Gmail account or Yahoo account so that they can get that confirmation of their scheduled appointment. It's going to allow you to select your time. And once you're done here, you're going to click submit. And just as a reminder, make sure that your applicant takes their state issued ID and transaction number to the fingerprint technician. And the ID must match the information that you submitted in NICAR. They will be turned away, and you must resubmit if the information is not correct. Now that you've completed the fingerprinting process, you can go ahead and submit your Arkansas Child Maltreatment Registry check. So this request must have 5 years of residency listed, and you can see here we have the link and the contact information for Central Registry. So Central Registry does process all of the Arkansas Child Maltreatment Registry checks. Let's see here. The next thing is just a little reminder, when you are submitting your child maltreatment registry result check, go ahead and make sure that you're selecting the second option. You'll see that it says you are a potential or current employee of a child care facility or residential facility for children and youth licensed by Arkansas Department of Human Services. If you do not select that option, our unit will not have access to view those. So if you're selecting the very first one that says you are a teacher, that's actually going to the Department of Education. Let's talk about a few special conditions. So if you are a school district, you will be submitting 2 background checks and 2 maltreatment checks for your staff. So if you have a preschool program on your campus, those pre-K staff will have to submit both a background check through Department of Human Services and Department of Education. You will have 2 prefixes on your INA account. You will have an EDU prefix and a CHI prefix. And you'll have to do the same thing with the maltreatment check as well. You'll have to do both. If you have a DDS program, you will also be doing the same thing. You'll have to submit under CHI and your DDS prefix. If you believe that you need to add a prefix or that you have one on your account that you don't need, please reach out to our unit. We will be happy to give you the information of the INA helpline, and they will be able to make those changes for you because we want you to have the correct information. So now we're going to talk about out-of-state requirements. If a potential employee has lived out of Arkansas in the last 5 years, they must complete checks from all of the states they have lived in during that period. So for example, if you are submitting an applicant and they have lived in Texas last year and Montana the year before that, you will be required to complete the checks for Texas and Montana. So the next component that I kind of want to talk about is that When you are requesting out of state for, let's say, Texas, you are needing to get the entire background check. That includes the criminal, the child maltreatment, and the sex offender registry for that state. And here we have a link to the interstate child care background check contact list. And then on the next slide, we will also have a link to our website where we have instructions, contact information, and links for every state and what you'll need to do for those states. And so the NFF states, the National Fingerprint File, these states do not require a criminal background check. So when you're going to our website and you're like, oh, I've got a new applicant and they just lived in Missouri. When you go to our website and you select Missouri, it's going to tell you that you don't need to submit a criminal for Missouri, only a child maltreatment and a sex offender registry check. That's because Missouri does participate in the National Fingerprint File, and so you don't need to do a criminal background check for that state. And again, all of that information is listed on our website, and that's here in the middle. And a few special conditions. So Tennessee and Oklahoma, our unit will complete these. You won't need to do anything on your end for Tennessee or Oklahoma. California is a closed record state, so you won't need to request any records. Arizona will only release the child abuse and neglect, also known as the maltreatment results, and they will not do a criminal record check. And then sometimes we do have applicants who have lived in a different country in the last 5 years. There are no results that are needed for these applicants. They just need to list those addresses on their Arkansas child maltreatment request, but you won't need to submit any additional information. So where do I send results once I get these out of state? You will send your results by email. And depending on the state, they may require it to be sent through the mail. There's only a few states that we've seen that are doing this, but most of them have switched all everything to online, just like we have. But if they do need them to be mailed in, here's our mailing address. And then if they are electronic, you'll need to mail them to the email address listed here, backgroundcheck@dhs.arkansas.gov. And that will come directly to our unit. And I've just added a link here again to our out-of-state portion of the website. We've worked really hard to get all of the state information there. So we really encourage you to go there and use it and familiarize yourself with each state. We know that you don't have any control over how long it may take a state to get your results. So we understand that. Just be sure that you are initiating that check so that your potential applicant can begin work. Okay, so here's just a couple of key points that we can't stress enough. When you're submitting your electronic background check, make sure that all information is correct. A staff member may not begin work until the state criminal record check has been returned as satisfactory. This means that your NICAR status will be in provisional. If a staff is showing a pending or not approved status, they are not eligible to begin work. The individual, if they are in a provisional status and you have initiated out-of-state checks if needed, they can work, but they must be supervised at all times by a staff member who has completed all regulatory background checks. And you may hear us say background check, and then in email you may see the term regulatory check, and those are the same things. But in email you may see the term regulatory check. And we also just want to remind you that if you have any questions regarding supervised and then who can do what and what as far as minimum licensing, reach out to your licensing specialist. They will be able to answer those questions for you, and they will be able to give you some information and guidance on where to go from there. You can always log into your NICAR account to see the status of your applicant. And if you have questions, our phone number is here. I know, I believe Brenda's been putting some information into the chat as well. So give us a call. We want to help you in any way we can. And the next slide, I'm going to put some more important phone numbers. So you'll see here our background check unit. This is our main line here. We'll go to one of our agents. Next, we have the NYCAR subscription account information and the NYCAR help desk. So if you are having problems logging into your account, you are needing some assistance with payment or subscription issues, you'll want to reach out to NYCAR directly. They will be able to help with that. They will not be able to help you with any background related. So if you're wanting to check on results or you're not sure what the status means, they won't be able to assist with that, but they will be able to assist if you are having any issues with payments or your subscription account, or if you get locked out. And then the last phone number here is the central registry. So this is where all of the Arkansas child maltreatments are processed. If you're having any issues with your child maltreatment or where to go, or if you're having questions, please give them a call. I know that they'll be happy to help. So we want to talk a little bit about possible delays in the process. If you receive a notification once you submit that DHS will do more research, or if you see that your applicant is in a pending status in your pending tab after submitting, this means that Arkansas State Police is doing manual research. And like I mentioned earlier, it rarely does happen, but if they've lived out of state or if they cannot be found immediately, then they will have to do some additional research. And it normally takes, 24 hours, and then they should be out of your pending tab. If you believe that there's an incorrect delay or it's been impending for, longer than 24 hours, please contact us. We will look into it and see if there is any other reason. Let's say that you have a staff member that is in provisional. So if the fingerprints have not been completed, if the fingerprints were rejected, or if the federal report requires some additional information, if the child maltreatment has not been completed, or if the out-of-state checks have not been completed, then your staff member will be left in a provisional status. And as we stated earlier, if they are in provisional, they can begin work as long as they are supervised at all times by an approved staff member. You must have initiated any out-of-state checks that are needed. So then the last possible delay, so let's say you get a not approved status. If you get a not approved status and it has been, you've just uploaded it 24 or 48 hours ago and it's come back as not approved, most of the time what that is that it's an incomplete consent form. So when you were scanning that consent form to upload it, maybe all 3 pages didn't get attached. Sometimes it could be the wrong consent form. So you could be using an older consent form, or maybe the notary stamp is not legible, or it's missing, a signature page is missing. A lot of times we see the notary date doesn't match the applicant's date, or the wrong name or date of birth was submitted. If your applicant was submitted more than one time, so if it's a duplicate entry, one of those will be not approved and one of them will be worked. The fingerprints or the Arkansas child maltreatment checks have not been completed within 45 days. If you submit an applicant and they do not get fingerprinted within 45 days, your applicant will be moved to not approved. So a lot of those errors are things that we can help get fixed. So if you see that not approved status come back in 24, 48 hours and you have questions, or you think that you may have made a mistake on the consent form, give us a call. Our emails are in the chat as well. We will be happy to have you email that consent form to us and we can actually upload it for you. So you don't need to resubmit your applicant again. We don't want to do duplicate entries. And so if you feel like there's an error, please give us a call or send us an email and we will do everything that we can in order to assist with that. And so now I know that we probably have some questions, and so I'm going to look at the chat box just to see I see Brenda has been working and I've got all of your emails, which is great. I will send all of you this PDF. And Barbara asked, I would like a copy of the recording to send to my providers. Is that possible? And Barbara, we will have this recording on the website once this is over. So I will make a little note here to make sure that I can send you that link so you'll know exactly where to get that. And I'll send that link to you. Let's see. And Brenda has answered as well. And yes, I do see, is the site running yet? So right now the consent form is still down, unfortunately. Like I said, our IT department, they're working diligently to try to get that fixed. And we know that, it does create a pause in being able to get those staff input into your system. So please just have patience with us, and we hope that it'll be up again soon. Alyssa, we were told that any new employees marked as provisional cannot begin until they're fully approved. So Melissa, actually, yes, as long as they're in provisional and as long as any out of state have been initiated, if they need those, they can begin work. So that just means that the state criminal has to come back, and that's all that you are needed according to the minimum licensing requirements. Alexis, how do we determine how many out-of-state regulatory checks we need to do per applicant? I was advised to do one for each particular state, and the applicants lived in another state as well. So Alexis, you're gonna have to run them for any states that they've lived in the last 5 years. And then of course, I know that we talked about the website, and I will make sure and give you that link as well. Make sure, no, she hasn't posted it. So let me just post the link here so that you have it. So our website does have the out-of-state information on it. If you select the state, it's going to tell you exactly what is needed for each state. This is something that is new, and we are hoping that it's really helpful for providers. Anything that you might need, let's see. I might can share my screen and show you. Yeah, let me do that. Okay, so when you go to that link and you go on our website for the out-of-state background checks, you're going to see here a drop down. And when you go to this drop down, let's say your applicant has lived in Colorado. Right here it says criminal records check, and it's got all of their information and instructions. It says, due to new federal guidelines defined on 8/14/2017, no steps need to be taken by the applicant to obtain this criminal history information. So Colorado is one of those NFF states, and that's the instructions you're going to get for a state that you don't need to request any criminal information. Then you'll go down to Child Abuse Registry, and here's the link. And then here's the instructions on exactly how to request that information, as well as a link to their website, their phone number, and the agency name. And then you will see that there is a link to the Sex Offender Registry website as well. And that's where you'll find that out-of-state information. And we encourage you to go on there and just really get familiar with that. We know that out-of-state can be a process. And then again, if you get results, I'm going to put the email address in here. You're going to send those to backgroundcheck@dhs.arkansas.gov. And let's see. Melissa, you are welcome. Cheryl, what is the requirement for employees who were not required to have fingerprints in the past? Do we have to go back and fingerprint? Okay, PRLU. Hey, Cheryl, can you put your, well, actually, I'm going to put my phone number. I think Brenda's already done it, but I'm going to put my phone number here. If you want to give me a call after this, and we'll kind of go over exactly what you'll need to do for that step. I know that you guys are actually a PRLU facility, which is placement in residential. And so it is a little bit different, but we can talk about exactly what you need to do. Let's see. Since an employee is allowed to work when the state criminal result is cleared, they are not approved to work alone with children until all records are cleared. This would mean someone whose record checks are all cleared is required to work with an employee until the records are cleared. Yes. Yep, that's exactly right. And again, if you have questions about what is needed, or if you have questions about what exactly you may need to run for, this applicant, or if anything that arises, please feel free to refer to your minimum licensing handbook and also reach out to your licensing specialist. They will be able to assist you. Barbara, we are not childcare facilities. We are after school, out of school. Does this info still apply? So Barbara, yes, this information does still apply. I know that you have a regulation book just like childcare facilities do. So go to your licensing book, familiarize yourself exactly with what you need for each one of your staff members. And again, if you have specific questions, if you're not sure if you have a volunteer or another person, or maybe just someone that's going to come in and assist, do an activity with the kids, definitely reach out to your licensing specialist and ask those questions. You can give us a call as well, and we'd be happy to walk through that with you. And Brenda was just saying that when the status of your applicant is updated, you will receive a message asking you to review. And that's right, you'll get an email. It'll be from INA info, and it's going to say that there's a status change. And so you'll know when those statuses have been updated. And we are really trying to make sure that all applicants are being at least updated to provisional if we can within 24 hours. So we hope that you are seeing a faster turnaround. We're trying some new things here, and we're hope that it's working out well. Yeah, and that's a great point that Brenda just pointed out about printing the screen. So there in your NICAR account, a lot of you may have already seen the print option. And that is coming soon. So you will be able to print a letter, somewhat like what you used to get the old way. And so this letter is it's a cleared letter. It's the status letter. Right now it's still in process, so it's not functional, but you can right click anywhere on your NICAR screen and click print, and you can print your screen for your licensing specialist. And again, if you need help walking through how to do that, please give us a call. We would love to assist and make sure that your questions are answered. Let's see. You're welcome, Barbara. Does anyone have any other questions? Anything that we did not touch on? Okay, I don't see any other questions or hear any other questions. We appreciate everyone who took the time out of your day to jump on here. Like I said, we will be doing this again. We are going to be doing this in December, so it'll be the last Thursday in December. November would be on Thanksgiving, so I'm sure that you would love to be spending time with your families, and so it will be on December 30th. It'll be posted on the website again. Please share with any colleagues, other providers that you may know that you think would benefit from this, and any questions that you may have between now and then. You can call us, email us, but if it's something that you're like, hey, I'm going to bring this up at the next training, definitely jot it down, and we would be happy to add that information to this. And we hope that this was helpful, and we will make sure that this recording is on the website, and everyone that has put your email in the chat, we'll make sure that we save all of this so that we can get this PDF out for you. And if you have any questions, our phone number is there, the criminal background check unit. Feel free to give us a call. We're here to help, and I hope that you all have a wonderful Thursday afternoon.